context as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
So yeah, basically last few months, I was trying to find some income. I was like working off some old projects and still tied to the Goo Guide thing, which just has been such a thorn in my side. And then everything was like so weird, and like I'm sure you both heard about Rod as well. And so like with everything like that just went on, it like really felt once that happened, it was like, wow, I gotta like let go of this thing. And so I'm like finally moving past that. And in about a week's time, I'm supposed to be starting up with this Canadian company that does paying out music royalties to artists when their music is used on a YouTube video. So I'm like, okay, that's going on. And then I have a confession. I have a thinking problem. I'm addicted to making app ideas. And so I had this other idea, and I'm like,
yeah, we are too, man. We know the feeling. I think it's a bug we all have.
So if you've been following a bit of what I've been doing the last couple of years, the last year, is I really got into flow arts, juggling, fire spinning, all that stuff. Love it. It was like such a cathartic physical release for me beyond the keyboard. But what I found is that all the content, like people have got stuff on YouTube, people have got stuff on Instagram, people have got stuff on Facebook. There's all this like amazing content everywhere, and people are like, they've got a course over here or whatever, but everything's so fragmented, and it's really difficult as a beginner to kind of figure out where's the good content, how do I learn the right way. So what I decided I wanted to create was a social media platform purely aimed at like performative arts, like circus, juggling, flow arts, and basically everything that encompasses aerial stuff. And you know, what Facebook doesn't really work for at the moment, we got lots of groups. So each group has about 10,000. You got the juggling group, you got the flow group, you got the rope dart group, you got the contact stuff group, you got the hoop group. They've all got about 10,000 users. You know, there's overlap and whatever, but you know, you got to go to that one. You got the Facebook butchers of quality. There's just so much. It's just so fragmented. So what I want to do is like, okay, you upload a video. What prop are you using? What style is it? What techniques are you using, right? How do we categorize all of this so that if I want to go and get inspiration, I can easily find what I'm looking for, and I can filter out, like, it's all one place, but I'm interested in staff and juggling, so like that's what my feed is going to be. But then I can look at some other stuff if I want, but you know, keeping everything in that one place where people can categorize, share, upvote, learn, inspire, grow. And you know, through that, eventually, you know, MVP is just like, okay, it's like a social feed, and then it's like, okay, then I want to make lessons and I want to make a course, so then I can sell my course through this application. And so that way it's rather than like, okay, you can follow me on Instagram, and then from Instagram I send it to my Patreon and to my YouTube, and no, it's like it's all interlinked. So it's like, here's my stuff, here's my vibe, here's what I do. Oh, and by the way, I sell this, and it's all within the one ecosystem. So that's the idea. Just trying to like figure out. Literally, I had this idea a few nights ago because I'm just thinking about leaving Facebook full stop, and I was like, but all the flow videos, I can't leave the flow videos behind. So this is like born out of that frustration for like, you know, in a world where Facebook can be everything, I don't want it to have everything, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. What's up, Bob? How are you, brother?
Hey, sorry for being late. I was just making a cup of coffee.
Yeah, no stress, man. Our buddy Rob is just give us a lowdown on his fire spinning app. So this is what I left the room unlocked, so everyone's just gonna kind of pop in. I think it's gonna be a fun experiment rather than like leaving a barrier there. So we'll get to you after we talk to Rob. So I think it's interesting because I came across an interesting app a couple years ago with these hoopers. Have you ever seen these like digital hooper girls? Like, you know, when they stand and they spin and they do all this really interesting things. You know, there's one app in particular that I found really interesting where you could have these augmented reality overlays, which took the hoop and all of the cool stuff you can do with it, and it almost like it expresses the dance in a very unique way. So every single hooper down in Nicaragua is where I was at. There's probably like 50 of them. Every single one of them had this $10 app on their phone. So
Yeah, I think that's
these
Luminancer, I think, yeah.
Luminancer, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things you're going to want to think about is what about your application is unique to the art itself. What is that one very niche feature that's really going to stand out to the specific audience you're targeting, whether it's through fire dancing or through whatever sort of art that you're expelling. And the other inroad to it might actually be, Rob, having a proper filter, through Instagram or even through TikTok as an MVP, right? Because I think Luminancer and a lot of these apps will be encompassed by these platforms with the filters as well. Something else to think about.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is there are so many apps that we've going down that route, and it's like they've almost like got that. It's like I don't really want to touch that. It's like if you want to like have this Luminancer or this augmented reality, like maybe one day it could be incorporated, but it's more that's like that creative freedom. I think, yeah, because it's all playful, it's all creativity, and I think that should still be kind of left to create your piece and then submit it, and like maybe like some filters and whatever, but I actually don't think that's the prime goal for me. I think it's really more about the categorization. It's about the organization.
Yeah,
that's like the really key feature.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, man. I think like the thing about the categorization is really what catches me about it. I guess two things really catch me about it. One, I just think it would be really dope to open something and see a bunch of flow artists, and I think that it's powerful to build a digital community of flow artists.
Yeah.
But also B, I really like because I think first on A, I think that's a market or a demographic of people that haven't really been catered to in that way specifically. Right. And I'm sure that you've seen firsthand in person that sense of community with other flow artists that exists.
Yeah.
Right. But no one's actually created this connector. And then B, I think having that categorization of the type of flow and, the type of, I'm not too versed in it, but maybe the type of spinning or the type of style and having that, I think that's one of the unique value propositions right there. Yo, Malcolm, what's up? Hey, we're gonna get with you after Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put you on mute in the meantime. I'm just letting everybody in right now. So we're trying a different approach.
So but yeah, like my main thing right now is I'm stepping into uncharted territory with video. Like this is where I decide, like, do I do it myself? Do I just, because no matter if I pay for the convenience of a service, like it can't be cheaper than Amazon, right? Like at base level, I got to pay S3 storage and bandwidth, which like is interesting because, it's not like millions of dollars kind of app. I'm looking at a subscription model, like $3 a month. And it's a thing of saying like, look, $3 a month. And like, this is us, there's no ads, no tracking, none of that bullshit. It's like by the community, for the community. I've reached out to a lot of my friends. I think it could be possible. But it's this idea of saying, look, I think this is a cool idea. If you want it, like, let's just pay for it because that's how we're going to make it work. Right. And I think that it's large enough that it's not so small that it's not marketable, and it's large enough to actually generate a profit, I think.
For sure.
I think it's a big enough niche. Sorry for cutting in. Just being here in Venice Beach, man, there's so many different kinds of flow. You have people with like the different batons, you have people with the hoops, you have 100 different flavors of this thing floating around. So to have a place where you can bring them together, especially being a software engineer as a background, right? You're already at a huge advantage. The fact that you can spin up a full stack app, do it 10 times before. And you're also stepping into a new paradigm what you're curious about, which is video, I do believe that there is, especially in content generation, as it pertains to very specific niches. Because everyone, if you're a philosopher, you have a podcast. If you're this guy, you have, Instagram. Everyone kind of has their niche. I haven't seen anything really work for the people who flow. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like,
no, and that's it. And like, I think there's just right now, it's in the adolescence, and right now COVID is like really, there's like a mixture of it. You got the hobbyists, and then you got the performers, right? The people who their livelihood. And so there's been, like all of the arts is being hit fucking hard. These people have been training all winter, getting ready for the festival season, and then boom, like all the like potential income just gone. And so we've had some kind of like digital festivals, like digital workshops, like some Twitch streams and whatever, but there's like lots of technical difficulties, and someone's like, try this and I tried that, and with varying different levels of success, but there's not really any cohesion for it. One of the interesting things about the flow arts is, as much as there's like this big communal, like, it's like very Burning Man principle, radical self, what's the word? What was it? Radical self-expression and all that kind of stuff. But there's still a lot of ego involved as well. So people are like, oh, but this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. And so, and there are a couple of people out there who I've like seen on some forums, like there's like little bubblings, like this is kind of what's coming. And I think that other people, that they'll be too much about like, no, this is the right way to do the art, and this is the right way to do the video. And I just want to be a bit more, no, like it's a community. Like, you want to put your content, great. If people like it, they'll upvote it, and it'll just naturally happen, right?
Yeah, I do think it's, you got to kind of like play with the ego though, right? You gotta like be cognizant of it, and like, bump it in the right ways to get them to accomplish what it is you want them to share through the platform. But I do believe that it's a big enough niche that you can make something happen in there, especially with your background, man. You build it. I mean, you've seen it with Goo Guide, you've seen it with some of the stuff I've known you've worked on over the years. And the fact that it aligns with your interests, I think could be very interesting.
I agree. And I think with, when you talk about a subscription model for a social media platform, it sounds unconventional, but I think when you talk about a subscription model for a community of flow artists, then I think it's totally makes sense. And I think if you approach it as building that community for and by flow artists, it seems like a very engaged niche community that very well.
Exactly. And like one of the things that really goes down well is the transparency. So if I go out and be like, look, I'd literally put it as a thing like, why isn't this free? Well, and then you just say, look, this isn't free, but I think that we can make something better than what Facebook can offer us. And I'm going to do the offers. Like I met so many fucking people. Like I've got like a roster of about like, I don't know, I got a few dozen people that I can like count on to get in the beta, to like just start getting some content uploaded, and like high quality content, like good tutorials, and then give them some referral codes, do the Uber model, and just bum. And so give them, get the content in the beta, so that it like is not a barren wasteland when it launches, and then everything is like, you get a free month with a referral code, and they will spread like fucking wildfire. So so I think that like, getting them in and realizing, oh no, this is worth $3 a month,
I think you're going to have to play with the business model. But getting the early adopters on board with the test flight, getting them into the app and getting them, you have the content there and people get in the habit of using it, and you can gain that feedback and find that very specific thing that is unique to your niche. Like in the realm of firebending and movement and like that whole capturing of movement and sharing it, you're going to find some very interesting learning that is unique to that community. I would just really be listening to your first early adopters and figuring out exactly what it is that is going to keep them coming back, because it's going to be something weird. I can promise you. There's like early adopters are always into some very weird stuff.
That's the interesting thing. I mean, for me, because I mostly do contact stuff, so a lot of the movements, at least are well named, and a lot of what people are doing, it tends to be some like variation on it pre-existing movement families. But then like I did a little post about it, and one of my friends who does poi, and he's like been spinning for 10 years, and he's like, dude, like my shit is so experimental these days, there's no names for shit, like, and and that's it. And I've got, I know staffers, I know aerial people, I know poi, so it's just about making sure that I can make sure that like how they want to it's all about the expression, right? So it's like how do they want to, I'm thinking it's going to be how do they express themselves correctly through that platform. But yeah, like I'll definitely be listening to them. I'm sure I'll be surprised by what they come up with.
Look at the early dribble invite system, like how they gain steam with graphic designers very rapidly, and how they cater to those early communities. I think you could have a lot of learning from there. Keeping an invite and peer-to-peer everything is an interesting model that I think you should really explore with this.
Right. So it's not just like anyone can download and pay the subscription. It's kind of more like you got to be invited into the club.
Test flight it.
And,
some deliberate friction.
That leans into the ego thing. That so leans into the ego.
Sometimes you got to whisper to the ego to get it to do what it wants, right? You got to kind of be like, it'd be really cool though. Like the ego is real, and sometimes you gotta, play with it a bit to kind of get people where they want. Yeah, but yeah, man, you're on the board. I really appreciate you calling in, and we're gonna make sure it makes space for Bob and Malcolm as well. So I don't know if you know the concept, but at the end of the show, we have like a bag of $300, and we're just gonna split it up among our favorite ideas. So it'll be like giving it away. So
well, I saw that the option was also for charity as well, and like I know if anything was going to come my way, dude, Black Lives Matter.
All right,
wherever it's best put in that sense from my perspective. I don't need money.
You got it.
Charity. if it comes out, I'm sure there's some other great ideas coming up as well.
I appreciate you, brother. All right, I'm gonna put you on mute. And I'm going to talk to Bob next. Bob, you there?
Yeah. Nice.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, man.
Yeah. First of all,
what's up, Bob?
Thank you for organizing all that. I feel like I have so many ideas and so little mentorship out there, and I really appreciate the format. And yeah, quick question: what's the format of the talk? So basically, it's my first time here. So how do you want it to go?
So the way,
go ahead. Go for it. All right. So you can just kind of present what you're working on, what stage you're at, what you're working on. A bit of context is always good. Why you're doing it, how it kind of came about, and then from there, if there's anything specific that you want some guidance on, or help with, or a hand with, or a second opinion on, creative input, strategic direction, technical expertise, etc., whatever your pain point is, if you have one. But even if not, we're happy to just kind of sit and kind of jam with you and brainstorm through your concept, if you need help kind of whittling it down to something more tangible as well. But it all starts with you telling us what you're up to.
Cool.
And if there's anything that we can do to be helpful.
Nice. Okay, so basically I'm just sorry, Nick.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, basically I'm a dev. I live in the Bay Area, and I just want to talk about an idea, stage 0. Like it's been on my mind a little bit, and I just want to have the community right here's input and see what you think about it, and maybe a little bit some technical advice, because I'm pretty much of a junior in terms of going as an entrepreneur and building your own systems, right? Mainly I do front end for 2 small startups, so that's what I do. And yeah, so that is for the background. And my idea so my latest thoughts have been focused towards a problem I've witnessed lately because of the whole Corona situation. It's basically a non-textbook dilemma about the supply and demand, right? Because the market didn't change, but the only problem right now, we have the same supply, the same demand, but the throughput for the demand is different. Because let's say you have a restaurant and you have 100 people, that you can accommodate 100 people, but the thing is, the whole distance, like social distancing, prevents you from going like full capacity every night. And the thing is, if you don't have anything to manage that, you have no way of, how to say it, maybe yeah, you have no natural way of managing a flow of people uh, uh, in your restaurant. You know what I mean? Like you could show up and someone at the door tells you, oh, sorry, we're full tonight. And so basically that was the kind of a problem I've encountered, especially for shopping. When you go in front of a store and you have like a 2-hour line here in Berkeley, I feel like there should be a solution telling you, hey, there's a 2-hour line, or just at least a kind of a sign up, and this is your time frame where you can show up, and you will be only there will be only like 20 people inside the store or at the restaurant at that time. But the thing is, it's so unnatural to do this that a solution doesn't exist. I feel like we should use technology, and that's one of the best use of technology, making a natural solution become more natural. So my idea was kind of so that was just like how I envisioned the system would be like a QR code. You're in the area of a big shopping center, right? You scan the code and you're put into some sort of virtual queue, so you can do whatever you want, just go away, blah blah blah, and it will just send you a text like 10 minutes, hey, be ready, it's gonna be your turn. And then, because you see people just queuing for no reason, because this is our only solution right now, and technology could solve that. So I see there could be a space. I want to have your input, guys.
Yeah, it's funny because I was met with this problem very recently. I went to go pick up a Magic Keyboard from Apple, and it was the most interesting process I've ever been through, where I purchased it online. It then gave me the choice of the different stores, and I chose not only the store, but my time frame in which I was allowed to go to the store and pick up the Magic Keyboard itself. And it's funny because from the outside looking in, it looks like Apple has built in-house what you're describing, which is controlling the inflow of potential customers into its storefronts. It was the most interesting experience because you walk in there, they had a temperature check at the door, right? There's a line of people, as there normally is. But the minute I showed it, it was actually my Apple Wallet. I held up the QR code, scanned it in. You walk in, it had like all the lines on the floor, and I stood in the corner, and I'm not fucking with you. Somebody put the keyboard onto like a little trolley, and he stepped back and like pushed it to me. And so I caught the trolley with my product in it, and then picked it up and walked out of the store. But I was one of, I think, 4 customers in the entire store. All the products were in the back, so there's no display pieces whatsoever, and it was a very, very unique experience that I have not seen in any other company. So if you want a really great proof of concept, I would just order something super cheap from Apple and actually go through that flow of going to the store and picking it up, because they seem to have been on top of this before anybody.
Okay, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know it either, but it's a proof of concept that you should definitely check out. I would pick up something super cheap from Apple and go through the process.
For sure. And I think two things pop into mind. One of those is the longevity of something like this I guess it's uncertain, right? But I think one thing that we all do know is that this will have some lasting effect for the duration of the year, if not into next year, etc. But just that longevity. So when thinking about this how you ship it and just kind of the product that you actually put out, if that's something that only remains relevant whilst we're in a pandemic, or is there something that you can do to that to make it something that has a bit more longevity beyond that? So that's just one thing that comes to mind. The other thing that comes to mind is with restaurants, for example. I haven't made a reservation at a restaurant yet, but I wonder if they're, what are the things that you make
reservations on, like online platforms?
I'm
Yelp,
blanking on any names of like Okay, Open Table, right? Like does Open Table now account for the fewer seats? Have you checked that out?
No, I have no idea actually. Just because,
Okay.
sorry, my first focus was on more shopping spaces because yeah, I knew about Yelp and Open Tables or even lists when you go to a restaurant. But for example, a huge shopping mall. I'm also referring in
Yeah.
terms of rules in Europe. For example, huge shopping spaces they will only allow, for example, 200 people, even though everyone goes to the
Right.
same store, which is not really logical as a way to proceed, right? If 100 goes to one store and all of them are empty, why would you just let a certain amount into the whole space, right? So that came. So my
Right.
problem came from that part. Less restaurants, sorry.
Gotcha. And so gotcha. So you're focusing on more retail spots. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and where are you with it? Like, what stage are you at? What have you done so far? What have you looked into?
So here's the thing. So I really started thinking seriously about it last week. I'm coding myself, and I have two more people that could help with coding, two full stack persons. But I really want to have maybe a little bit of some technical advice on how to implement, like what would be the best sort of not only stack, but what kind of solution would be ideal for that sort of operation. Basically, someone would show up, put his or her name on the list, and have some sort of a countdown and scheduler in the back.
So from an MVP perspective, and just to give you some background, Eli and are both full stack developers. I would make it very email heavy, because what you're really doing is you're communicating to the user, hey, you've made the schedule. So I would imagine it'd be in the form of the website. So you basically would have to host a widget or even have it go through your own website, right? I sign up as, I don't know, Nick's jewelry store, right? And you facilitate the checkout or even post checkout after you've actually chosen the product. You then have the option of having it shipped or you have it for pickup, right? If they click pickup, it would then go over to your shop. The web experience would naturally, the way I would imagine it is you choose your time and then it flows into the emails being sent to you as reminders as well as potentially SMS text messages, right? Because you're going to have to over communicate to the customer all these times and all the things that need to happen for them to get in the store between 6:15 and 6:30. It's probably going to be a very small window. I would imagine it to be very email heavy. The other part that was really smooth about the Apple experience is that from the email or from the web experience, I could install a pass directly into my Apple Wallet. I thought that was such a smooth experience. So I would, if I were you for the MVP, I would focus on one, the booking, a very Calendly-like interface, post checkout, right? So post checkout into the Calendly-like experience, and then from there into something that integrates with Apple Wallet. I thought that was a very smooth process. And the truth is, you're going to need some point of sale at the retail front or some QR code scanner to then accept that, just to be able to confirm who they are. So it almost feels like to me, because I'm thinking of all the characters, right? At the front of Apple Store, you had someone with the iPad who scanned the pass, and then you actually had a security guard with a temperature scanner, right, taking your temperature. So it seems to me there could even be an opportunity to package what you're selling to these retail stores, with security, with temperature scanning, and there could be an even bigger opportunity. But from a stack standpoint, I feel like it'd be post checkout link into booking, static, make it as static as possible, statically rendered, and just get them through the process as quickly as possible. And I would use I would start with the Apple Wallet integration. I think Apple really nailed it, and I would adopt a lot of the thinking that they've went through. And also, dude, just talk to store owners, because a lot of these guys, they don't
Yeah.
have temperature scanning and a lot of the other things that come with this, right?
Got it.
Yeah. I would say talk to store owners for sure. And then the other question is this for people that are just out and about looking for products, or are they ordering ahead of time like Nick did?
Good question.
Like what's the use case there?
So at first, the use case was for more for people who are people who
Like
do
in
not
real
order.
time, walking
Yeah,
around.
in real time, exactly. Because
Gotcha.
yeah, the
Gotcha.
problem when you order in advance, it's kind of I see the logistic is a little bit easier because you have all the data. But that the thing is really when you get there and you want to have some sort of a genuine estimate of the time you're going to stay in line or you're going to stay around.
Yeah.
So that was more for people showing up at the store, scanning, and okay, I have like an hour and a half. I'm just going to go around and come back.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Because I think that's, yeah, it's a different it's a different user journey or customer journey with those two different use cases, right? I think more in the real time use case, one thing to also think about is in terms of the store owners and the store operators, how are they keeping track of the people that leave the store? How are they keeping track of the amount of people in the store? And is that something that's handled by your product as well? Or is that something that they're manually doing, visually or whatever? But that's a component that you'll probably have to think about at some point, because they need to know when it's time or when they're ready to take that other customer, right? They need to know when it's kind of dropped below that threshold of when it's acceptable for you to come in. And then also, I think if it's in real time, when you show up at that storefront, the two lowest hanging fruit to me when you like Nick said, email, right? There's so many different, email clients you could use in any stack, and then SMS.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you have something like Twilio, right, with programmable SMS as an easy way to just kind of ping them when their appointment's ready. So I think but you would need their phone number. Right, you would need their phone number, and somehow that could probably happen with the QR code transaction at that storefront, right? So then the store operator actually gets, this reservation and probably some information about their phone number or their email or whatever, and then when it's time, boom, they're walking around, they get a message, and there are also a lot of QR code libraries that already exist out there. Because even though it's something that feels like it's, kind of mystical, there are quite a few like QR code libraries that you can just kind of pop in and start using.
Yeah.
Nick, your thoughts?
Twilio was actually one of the solution I was thinking of before the whole email thing.
Cool.
Twilio was one of the solution for sending text.
Yeah.
Just one quick question. In terms of a database, what do you see as the, like, just out of the, like, roughly what kind of a database do you see would be fit for that sort of a product? Because I was wondering, I heavily use Postgres and MongoDB, but I don't know if something more like Memcache would be adapted. I have no idea how those things go.
My advice when you're building MVP is use what you know, use what you're comfortable with, and the thing that's going to make this thing work is going to be it's a B2B company, right? So you're selling into these businesses, you need to find the model that fits, and it's going to be a badass demo, a very clear marketing message, and getting on, you said that you come from a hacker background, you're going to want to find yourself a hustler to get the fuck out there and start making sales. You're going to want someone who's constantly talking to these businesses, understanding their needs, and getting something out there. So I would use what you know, whatever you can, spin up very quickly, in order to get a demo in place and something demonstrable to these companies that you're going after. But taking a step back, I had an idea when you guys were talking through things, because Eli, you have a really good point that this situation might not last forever, right? The truth is, I think the fear that's been generated by the media, you turn on the news right now, it's like, oh, numbers are higher, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave coming. There's going to be such a long tail effect from a fear standpoint that I feel with a service like this, a lot of businesses will be able to signal to their customers, hey, we care about your health and well-being. We care about your safety. Don't go. I feel like there's going to be a split here in a way where you have a lot of companies who are just going to open doors. Everyone can come in free and magical, but you're going to have a lot of people who stay in that place of fear, either because there's a legitimate concern because their health and well-being, they're much more at risk, who will prefer stores who cater to that demographic. And then even after that fear kind of subsides and everything returns to the new normal, right? There's definitely going to be a new normal, and this could be a part of that new normal stack. What stood out to me was, you ever go to like Disneyland or an amusement park and pick yourself up a fast pass? Look at that
Yeah,
dope.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you'd pay like another $200 and you get like a fast pass, or it's like, all right, we're gonna streamline the shit out of
Hell
all your,
yeah.
yeah, like you always get the fast pass, right? And then like you can just like whiz by those other suckers in line. I feel like there's also a fun marketing angle there where everything is going to be line driven. Like I went to the mall the other day, and dude, there was a line of like 30 people outside of Victoria's Secret, outside of Pink, outside of Lululemon, right? People still want to go shop. So if you just had, maybe the sale even to these companies is we're going to accelerate your ability to enter more quickly through the sale of a fast pass that could even come with an exclusive discount code or something like that. So it's a different play on a very similar idea of the fast pass where you get like, okay, 4 p.m. boom, you're gonna whiz by.
Hey, yeah. Hey, thanks for all those advices. I need to digest a little bit, and I have like a clearer way of thinking about it.
I had one thing I wanted
Perfect.
to throw. I had one thing I wanted to throw in. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Yep.
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. Didn't know if the headphones would have got it. So basically, I think you got to remember also you got two different markets here. You've got like your Victoria's Secret, your big established companies, but then you've got the smaller ones as well. So when I think of like smaller businesses, right, these people are already going to be under so much stress because maybe they've already been paying rent, losing money, they haven't been making sales, maybe they can't have as much staff on as they previously would have done. So they're going to be super stressed out anyway. So how do you make it as easy as possible? Like for them, if it adds too much friction into their day-to-day, they won't sign up. So you always got to think about making sure that, like, how can this work for the people that don't have someone who can be on the security door and this and that and whatever. Like, just a thought that I wanted to put out there for you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
spot on, man.
For sure. And
Yeah.
they probably, they might need it the most, right? Even from a safety perspective, right? Those businesses might be more inclined to just let a lot more people in, versus if they had some sort of monitoring software in some way. But yeah, that's a fantastic point, Rob.
Yeah,
cool. So I think that go for it.
It's even a lot of these businesses. There's no playbook here, right? There's nobody offering
sure.
guidance. You'd assume the government would be doing it, but who the fuck knows what they're got going on? But there's rules at a federal, statewide, and city level. And I feel like if you were to come to them with a playbook and say, "Hey, I feel your pain," right? Like and this is very much so a vitamin in this case of Corona and COVID, to give them a playbook saying, "Hey, this is your approach to optimizing your storefront, your customer safety, and all of these very core features during COVID." I think that alone would even be powerful.
Yeah. So then I think to kind of drive it all home, it sounds like there are a few kind of core takeaways, right? One is the one that Rob mentioned around like being understanding the different markets and understanding which one you really want to build this for. I think the second one is starting with what you know in terms of stack, right? Just going with what you know you can throw up. Thirdly, talking to store owners, right? Talk to store owners for sure. And then, was there anything else?
I feel like I would get
the
cheapest thing from Apple and go through the process a couple times.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's holistically not only coordinating the people who show up, but just offering relief in terms of, hey, this is a proven method to handle COVID and a physical storefront during COVID. You're going to have to, establish yourself as the expert, and getting on the phone with these guys and beginning to really hear those pain points and looking at the guys who are doing it really well is going to show you a lot of that learning, because it's going to be different depending on its retail. But I like the retail approach because a lot of the supply chain has gotten demolished, and they want to get guys back to work. They want to get them back in the stores, and the only way that's going to happen is if we innovate the way that we approach storefronts. And I understand this is like a quote unquote temporary sort of mindset, but even after you have these business contracts in place, like a couple B2B sales, even with a simple flick into something like Fastlane or a Fast Pass or something like that, I think there could be some long-term good ideas. Also, another company check out that's really killing it. It's a friend of mine from University of Michigan, Wait Time. Guys are based in Detroit, and they've done a lot of innovations with sports stadiums. And they do a lot of internal tracking in the businesses to understand like where people are physically sitting and like what the density is inside of any building. They've been doing this for years, even before anything like COVID even hit. So definitely someone to check out.
Just quick,
Perfect.
it's the waittime.com, right? Like
I don't know the
AI
exact.
thing.
I don't know the exact URL, but I can follow up with you after this and pop you links.
Cool. Thank you so much for all those advices.
Of course, Bob.
All right, brother.
So should we move? And then longevity, right? Should we move on to Malk? Yo, what's up, Malcolm?
What's
Good
up?
to see you, man. Yo,
How's
what's
it been?
up, dude?
Hi.
Good. It is so good to see you.
It's
been wow.
It's
Yeah.
been refreshing. Yeah. So basically over the last 6 or 7 months, I moved to the Bay Area, and just have been kind of like networking and getting to know a lot of people. But come to find out, like it's a very small town, and so I've like been able to meet like different circles of people, and I'm like the type of person that likes to bring different people together. So basically my idea was to create like a private dinner series, and it would be something very intimate.
Ooh.
I would be the chef, and basically we would rent or Airbnb like a house, maybe like a house in the hills somewhere for a night, and invite up to 6 or 7 people and just have like a intimate dinner, but bringing like different types of people together. So it becomes sort of like a networking mixer type of experience. So the idea in my head is like you would be able to bring one guest. So essentially you would be like 3 different sets of people in whatever industry or whatever backgrounds, and just bringing people together. And then I would cook, and I'm like a pretty good chef. It's like one of my passions. So
yeah, you are.
I want to start in the Bay because there's like a lot of cool people that I've met. And I think it would be something like, I know they do this in like New York, and I've heard they do it in LA, but yeah, and it would be catered toward like young professionals from whatever background, creative, tech, business, whatever. So like what feedback I would like to have is as far as like inviting people, and because I kind of want it to be kind of like an underground type of thing where you kind of have to know someone who knows someone. It's not going to be something that is going to be like blasted on social media. It'll be like a type of refer a friend type of deal. So I'm not sure if that would require like just text messages or like maybe like an app or what, but I guess I need help with like trying to visualize how that would look like from like in sending out invites, people signing up, people like even with the menu, like sending out a menu beforehand so people know what to expect, or maybe there is no menu and it's a surprise. So yeah, I would love some like feedback and some ideas.
Dope. Well, I love the concept.
Yeah.
I love the concept because like that, I mean, when I think about some of the most special people in my life, right? It just happens from us being in this, someone putting us together.
Right.
You know, like my most relevant connections were not made on apps. They were made through like someone coordinated, someone made it possible for us to be in the same physical space.
Right.
And that's how I met all of you on this call. Was like, so I think that's powerful, and it's kind of anti or you know, it's kind of going going against the grain of everything that's happening with how we, how people are now meeting other people through
Right.
all these apps. In terms of in terms of like the invites and that workflow, yeah, the beauty of this is like it's so profound and simple, that like you can just have a real simple stack that manages the people. So I think, yeah, the things that you need to manage are the guest list, right? Kind of the guest list of people that are coming, the referrals, and the invitations, right? Like sending out those invitations, right? Or with the menu or whatever.
Right.
Right.
So I actually had a thought about this. I think like if you're going to be the chef, what you really need is like a concierge, right? So like a chatbot type thing could be interesting. So you've got like your wait list or your the guest list, all that kind of stuff is in the background, like Eli suggested. But maybe there's like, yeah, this little piece of AI that like stands in the middle of it. That's like, how you sort of communicate, and then it's like, yeah, and then you refer your friend through to the chatbot, and then that goes on.
Yeah,
just
but
a concept that came into my head.
I think it's a good concept. I think
Nick's going
you do something.
to tell me why it's wrong.
No, it's not. It's not wrong, but I think it's interesting, because being from a software development background, Rob, I think we have a very different scope as to like what is possible, and like that seems like an interesting project, building an AI chatbot. Now, is that going to get you the core components of creating an invite system? I don't think it is. It's one way to deliver that once it's set up. I wouldn't say it's wrong at all. I think it's a different take and a different approach that you could potentially innovate into. But I feel like what you have is much more simple. I feel like what you have is, you got to get an email list together, and I think this is a great no code sort of setup, somewhere where you can aggregate.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Like I don't have a background in software development, so this is all just.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, like literally, AWS have just announced Honeycode. Do you see that?
Yeah, today.
So Amazon today have like literally just announced this Honeycode thing. So like they're really stepping into this no code game. So that might be something to look into for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think even simpler, it's going to be you got to find a platform to consistently I think if it's going to be dinners, and like I think the coolest way is via SMS, right? Like that to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll want something where you can send out like consistent text messages, and then you're going to need somewhere to refer people when a new dinner and experience becomes available, so they can purchase the ticket. You could do something like Gumroad. Gumroad would provide you with the ability for people to sign up for pre-sale.
How do you spell that?
Gumroad. Gumroad.
Okay.
Yeah. You can do very simple, and then you can even follow up emails. And when you send them the package, it's going to be, here's your directions, here's my phone number, and here's your receipt, basically, right? And that's all you really need, man. You need like a text message list. You could even in the beginning, man, you could do it by hand. Even send your friends like a Google form to sign up. And when new inventory becomes available, create a new product on Gumroad, with the number of seats, send them that link, and boom, you have yourself everything you need.
Okay, cool.
Is there a theme to every?
As far as the theme, as what? I guess the theme is more so just like a new experience, because I know like with a lot of restaurants not really being open yet here, but like there's a lot of like super dope houses, and people don't really get a chance to experience that, especially like young people who probably don't have enough money to like live in some of these places. So like opening them up to the like a new experience in a new house, and just meeting new people, where it's like kind of taboo to do that right now, but whatever.
And so each of these dinners are going to be different in terms of the people coming, right? Like because you want to curate it,
right? Ideally, I would start with my friends, and then I would encourage them to tell one person or two people about it. And eventually I would like to work up a guest list where let's say you would get like a reservation once a month. And so like once every month you could look forward to like this dinner series where you'll be able to come and like meet new people, and just have like a cool meal in a really nice place, like a home cooked.
One of the I've experienced some really interesting. If you want to see some really good examples of this, look for the guys who are doing the weed dinners. We used to do those all the time in Detroit, and they were always the coolest marketing. They couldn't legally sell tickets. They couldn't legally host the events. So it was like always a sort of underground feel to everything. And you didn't know where the fuck you were going up until like an hour before the event because they didn't want to tip off the police.
Right.
You know, it was a very cool vibe the whole way through. And the other thing is, if you're targeting young professionals, one of the things that's always appealed to me personally as a young professional in LA and in a lot of these hubs is the prospect of joining masterminds. I feel that if you're really going after young professionals who are looking to up level and also help with other people's businesses, kind of like what we're having here right now, you might want to take the angle of a mastermind is like an invite only mastermind. It could put an interesting angle on it. Like on one hand, it's like grabbing dinner, but it's also, like food and dope ideas could be an interesting angle from a marketing perspective.
Okay.
Or you have a surprise guest.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, yeah, that would be enticing.
So I want to break this down and like kind of give you tangible things to walk away with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of the different components of this from in terms of that customer journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the different components? And yeah, I think I think a mailing list is definitely important, right? So you can either use, Google, like Nick said, Google Forms is an easy way to get people to fill something out. And then you can have that submission populate onto a list that you're building, right? And maybe in that Google form, you get, their industry or whatever, you can come up with the questions, right? But real simple, real easy. And maybe that, I don't know if this is possible, but if that Google form was by way of a referral link or something, I don't know if that's possible. Like kind of, because you don't want just anyone receiving the form and then signing up. But that's something to look into. If there's some way to connect the referring with that Google form, and I can have a think on that later and shoot you over anything that I think might be relevant. But yeah, filling out the Google form, and then that can populate your list, your mailing list. Okay. And have you ever heard of Zapier?
How do you spell that?
Okay, so Zapier.
Okay.
So what it does is it connect. Yeah, Nick just wrote it in the chat. So it can connect different apps for you. Right. So it basically connects different APIs, which, I mean, all that means is within Zapier, you can choose a trigger and an action. Right. So you can say when someone fills out this Google form, send them an email. Right. Send them an email afterwards with an invite. So if you look at Zapier, you'll see all the different apps that you can connect with each other. And this is all no code. You can just say, here's my Google Forms account, here's my whatever account, and when this trigger happens, do this action. So I think some sort of mechanism to build that list so that you just have a centralized list of, a centralized, organized list of people based on, their industry and who they were referred by, etc. And even that, you don't even need to get complicated with the referral links. You can just, in that Google form, you can just say who referred you.
Right.
Like who referred you, and you'll know that it came from that person.
Right.
So that Google, sure.
Oh, I didn't mean to get you. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah. So also as an alternative to Google Form, there's like Typeform, which is pretty much equivalent. And just to bounce off the Google Form ID, I was kind of living your thing when you were talking, when you're explaining that, and I kind of feel having probably not a Google form, but just a landing page, which is not that hard, would make the experience way more appealing. Because for me, when you said underground, it was like I gotta go to some sort of like website where it's like welcome to the black box, and put your some sort of code like
Yeah.
a XQ3,
For,
and you
yeah,
enter
for
like
sure.
okay, put your name and phone number, and we'll come back to you, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
the Google form is cool, but from the perspective of the ID you were mentioning and how I was living it, for me it has to be like some
It
sort
is
of
supposed to be kind
MI6
of like
shit.
mysterious.
For sure. Then that is a great point, Bob. And I think, yes, pardon me on the Google forms. I'd say if you are going with the form approach, type form all the way.
I mean, it would probably
But-
be like so starting out, it would just be like, I'm personally going to invite you, but then maybe it can be like once you leave, you'll receive like a code to give to someone else, and then they could come put the code in, and then they would join the waiting list type of referral.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
going to I'm writing all this down. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Write
we're
it, jot it
we're
down. And
recording
we're also
this.
recording this.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna pop it up onto YouTube after. But going back to what you said, Bob, I think it's a really good point. I would really focus on the user friction, and I feel like with the angle I imagine going to take, or what would be appealing to me, it's going to sound strange, but I would be very deliberate about the friction between somebody joining the network and getting an invitation to the dinner and actually showing up. I would really put that air of exclusivity on it. And you can dress it up in a very simple website, like make it sexy, make it something a bit mysterious. And if you want to see a really good, man, there's so many good like mysterious networks that have come out, especially recently. Like this whole what is it, Clubhouse has like made this like air of mystery. Everyone's trying to like replicate it. But lunchclub.ai, they've got like a very, very evolved form of what I think you're going to be looking for. But the initial steps are very similar. You come to the platform, you enter your email, and you wait for your invitation. You're kind of sitting on your hands, right?
And one thing you're also going to want to account for is payment. Right. And how that transaction happens. And of course, to start, you could just take cash on arrival, but then you don't have any leverage. You don't have, like, they can just not show up, and then you have one person at the dinner, right? So whatever form that invite comes in, that there can just be a simple link for for payment to actually secure their spot.
So,
and you can use.
You can continue, and then I'll ask my question.
No, go for it.
Or
Venmo.
Yeah, Venmo. For payments like that, I guess one of the obvious concerns is like, if I pay, like, how do I know this isn't like some sort of scam? I guess maybe that's where the referral will come in.
That's where the referral comes in, right? Is like the person that's referring you kind of has already been to these things. So that's also the benefit of starting it with your friends, right? Or starting it within your immediate circle. Because then from that immediate group of people, once you do it once, then the network starts growing from there.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's something you would like the payment is something you would definitely want ahead of time. Because that's you're getting the ingredients.
Well, the payment would cover like the cost of the food and like probably like the Airbnb and all of that. So
exactly. So yeah, I mean, if you have a way to manage like a sexy place for people to come to, whether that's like a real blacked out landing page that looks really sleek and kind of gives that ethos, or if it's a dark theme kind of type form that feels exclusive in a way. If you have that way to build that list, if you have a way to send out the invites and a way to take payments, then I think you have like a nice, tight, easy to manage, no code at all stack to start, building out the network.
Right.
My AirPods are fucking up.
You said you're in the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Berkeley, so if you
Okay,
if you
yeah.
want, we can exchange contact. And
Definitely.
I'm on tech side, so if you have questions or you even need like some a little help with the project, because I would really be down to go
Yeah,
to one of the
definitely.
dinners, so I could help you
There's a
with that.
chat in this, right? I can just send
Yep.
my number. I'll just give you all my number.
If it's on YouTube,
For
maybe
sure.
just
Yeah,
after.
don't give us your number.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in.
I mean, was this helpful, Mount? Did it
Oh yeah,
kind of?
definitely. Because like literally, I mean, this is just like a random thought I had one day. Because Savannah's been saying like, yeah, you should just start a restaurant because you like to cook so much. But I honestly don't want to deal with like the stress of having to run a restaurant. So I was just thinking like a smaller scale type of thing. And I didn't really have the time. I never took the time to actually try to flesh out the idea. So I just thought this would be the perfect time to try to do that. So,
Dude, I think it's great.
yeah,
It's like a private dinner club.
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's a private dinner club for like. It's a private dinner club with potentially like mastermind type of connections happening.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Exclusive, good vibes, good food. And then that exclusivity, that feel of it should just like come through in every part of the experience, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean like luxury. That doesn't mean like, but just like that feeling of this is invite only. This is a community of cool young people.
Exactly.
But yeah, dude, I think if you have a way to collect their data, a way to send out the invites, and a way to take payments, that's all you need at a real like, beyond that first group.
Right.
Nick, did you have something to say? I saw you kind of came off and went back on.
I think I love the idea. I think it's also interesting because there's so many chefs who are out of work. There's so many people in the food services industry who, through just their natural faith in these institutions, the fact that they continue serving at these restaurants, have been completely cut off from the ability to make ends meet. So I don't feel like you'll have any shortage of very high quality chefs. I know you're anticipating being the first chef, but who already have a following on the social media networks. Like once you have that process set up, right, who can then have their own offering of badass food and conversations.
Definitely, yeah. That would be really dope if like I could get different chefs, like maybe like a special guest chefs or like private whatever to eventually come.
Yeah, for sure. Surprise chefs, or maybe in the invite, there's the chef as well, who the chef is for the dinner.
Definitely.
There's so many, yeah. You're just the first chef. You don't have to be the only chef.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like for the first ones, it's going to be transactional. So there'll always be like, I'm buying one ticket to one dinner, but then later on, is you have a series, right? You're doing these things regularly on a monthly, bi-monthly, tri-monthly basis. There will even be opportunities saying, hey, get an entire year of these dinners at a discount, and if you can't show up, you can give your invitation away. So I encourage you to keep the first iteration of this thing very simple. Make sure to collect those emails and phone numbers in a centralized place, and make it sexy and over communicate to them, hey, this is what you're getting. And the people who get the invitations, make them feel like they won the lottery.
Word. Yes.
I think we're at the hour.
Cool.
Yeah, we're at the hour, but guys, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I'm going to cut off the recording now. And if you guys could stick around for a second, I would love to get feedback as to like how we can make this thing better. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop the recording